It was a quiet Tuesday morning when I saw it, an envelope taped right to my front door, flapping slightly in the wind. The words, "Final Notice," were stamped across it in red ink like a scarlet threat. For a second, I thought it was junk mail or maybe a delivery notice. Then I saw the sender. Maple Ridge Homeowners Association. My stomach dropped. I tore it open right there on the porch. The legal jargon blurred together, but one line was clear enough to freeze me in place. Failure to comply will result in legal action by the association. Legal action over what? Then I remembered the door. Just 2 days ago, I'd painted my front door navy blue. Not neon, not wild. Just navy, my late father's favorite color. The man had taught me how to paint, how to take pride in small details. That color meant something. Apparently, it meant something to the HOA, too. Something bad. That afternoon, I spotted Bradley, the HOA president, strutting down the sidewalk with 2 board members behind him. Clipboard in hand, khakis pressed, sunglasses too big for his face. He looked like a sheriff in a town that didn't need one. He stopped at the edge of my yard, lips curling into a practiced smile. Bradley. "Afternoon, Mr. Carter. We've had a few complaints about your door. It's not on the approved color list." Me. "Complaints? It's navy blue, Brad. Half the houses on this street are gray." Bradley. "The rules are the rules. Page 47 of the bylaws clearly outlines the approved exterior palette." Me. "You're kidding." Bradley. "No, sir. We'll need it repainted within 7 days. 7 days. Like I'd committed some kind of crime. I stared at the door behind me. The sunlight hit it just right, bringing out a soft sheen that reminded me of my dad's old pickup. The one he'd painted the same color in our driveway when I was 12. That door wasn't just paint, it was memory. Me. "Brad, that color, my dad used to..." Bradley. "I understand sentimental value, but the association must maintain uniform aesthetics. It's about property values." He actually said that. Property values. Like grief had a market rate. I could have yelled, could have argued. Instead, I smiled. Me. "All right, I'll look into it." Bradley gave a nod like he'd won something and strutted away. But as I stood there, holding that letter in my hand, something inside me clicked. I wasn't just a homeowner. They were talking to me like I was a tenant in my own life. So that night, I poured myself a cup of coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and pulled out an old manila folder, the title deed to my property. My name, my land, my rules. That was the moment I decided. If they wanted a fight, they were going to get one. By Thursday, everyone on Maple Ridge Drive knew something was brewing. Word spreads fast in HOA neighborhoods, especially when Bradley's involved. I'd already reread the bylaws twice. Page 47, Section 12B. Approved exterior. Colors must align with the community's standard palette unleashed. Written exception is granted by the board. Unless written exception is granted, there it was, the loophole. So I sent an email to the HOA board requesting an official hearing. Not to apologize, not to beg, but to remind them what they'd conveniently forgotten. Ownership. The following Monday, I walked into the clubhouse with my deed folder tucked under my arm. The room smelled like cheap coffee and freshly printed agendas. 5 board members sat behind a long folding table, their nameplates lined up like little soldiers. Bradley sat dead center, grinning like a man about to collect a fine. Bradley. "Mr. Carter, thank you for joining us. We're here to discuss your non-compliance regarding the exterior. Color of your front door." Me. "You mean the door to my house?" Bradley. "To your property within the Maple Ridge community? Yes." Me. "No, Brad. To my house, owned, paid for, deeded." I placed the folder on the table and opened it slowly, letting the pages fan out like a deck of cards. Me. "This is my title. It's got my name on it. Not yours, not the board's, mine." A murmur rippled through the small crowd that had gathered in the back. Apparently, half the neighborhood had decided this was better than TV. Bradley leaned forward. Bradley. "We're not disputing ownership, Mr. Carter. But you agreed to abide by community standards when you purchased here." Me. "And those standards allow exceptions. Page 47, Section 12B. It says, unless written exception is granted. So, here's my request in writing." I slid a single sheet of paper across the table, handwritten, direct. No lawyer talk, just request for color exception. Navy blue. PMS 2965. Dedicated in memory of my father, Daniel Carter, U.S. Navy veteran. For a moment, the room went quiet. One of the older board members, a woman named Marjorie, adjusted her glasses and looked at Bradley. Marjorie: Brad, do we really want to fine a man for honoring his father? Bradley: Rules are rules, Marjorie. Me: Funny how that line only seems to work one way. Bradley's jaw tightened. He whispered something to another member, then looked back up. Bradley: We'll take your request under review. In the meantime, failure to repaint will still be considered non-compliance. That was it. No empathy, no respect. Just the robotic grind of bureaucracy. I gathered my papers and stood up. Me: You can review whatever you want. But until you prove otherwise, that title says this land and that door belong to me. As I walked out, the neighbors whispered behind me. Some smiled. Some shook their heads. But I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't backing down. That night, I got another email. Subject line: Notice of pending legal action. So they really wanted to play hardball. Fine. I had proof, purpose, and a story worth fighting for. Next stop, the courthouse. The courthouse smelled like dust, and old paper, like history itself was, holding its breath. I sat at the defendant's table in a suit that hadn't seen daylight since my dad's funeral. Across from me sat Bradley and his two lawyers, looking smug enough to think they'd already won. But I wasn't there to fight over paint. I was there to stand up for something bigger. The judge entered, a tall woman with calm eyes and zero patience. She glanced at the files on her desk, then at me. Judge, Mr. Carter, you're being sued by the Maple Ridge Homeowners Association for violation of Community Code 12B regarding exterior paint color. Is that correct? Me: Yes, Your Honor, though I believe they've left out an important part. The exception clause. I handed her a highlighted copy of the bylaws. She skimmed it quickly, then looked at Bradley. Judge, Mr. Thompson, is this accurate? Bradley, clearing throat: The clause exists, yes, but... Judge: Then why was Mr. Carter not granted consideration for his written request? Silence. The kind that fills a room like smoke. Bradley shifted in his seat. Bradley: We felt granting exceptions could set a precedent. Me: A precedent for what? Being human? A few people in the gallery chuckled softly. The judge hid a smirk. Me, continuing: Your Honor, I painted that door navy blue in honor of my father, a Navy veteran who taught me what ownership really means: earning something, respecting it, and defending it when it's threatened. I followed every rule in that document, including the one that lets me request an exception. I'm not here to break rules. I'm here to stop people from using them like weapons. The judge leaned back, thoughtful. Judge, I've seen many cases like this. Usually they end because one side remembers that communities aren't built from policies, they're built from people. She picked up her gavel. Judge, the court rules in favor of Mr. Carter. The association's claim is dismissed. And I suggest the Maple Ridge HOA revise their approach to exceptions, especially when they come from a place of respect. The sound of that gavel hitting the bench felt like thunder. Bradley's face went pale. He muttered something under his breath, but I barely heard it. I was already exhaling for what felt like the first time in weeks. Outside, neighbors gathered near the steps. Marjorie was there too. She smiled softly. Marjorie: You didn't just win for yourself, you know. Me: Maybe not. But it feels good to remind folks that owning a home isn't just about property, it's about pride. That night, I stood on my porch under the porch light, staring at that navy blue door, the same color my father once called honest blue. Sometimes standing your ground isn't about rebellion, it's about respect. Respect for the people who came before you, for what they taught you, and for yourself. So here's the lesson I learned. If something is worth standing for, don't let anyone paint over it.